All right, let's just jump right in. You hear names like Jacques Lacan or Slavoj Žižek, and let's be honest, your brain might just kind of want to shut down. They sound difficult, super dense, maybe a little intimidating. But what if I told you there's a surprisingly clear way to get a handle on their most powerful ideas? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to break it all down so it actually clicks and give you a whole new way to look at the world.
We're kicking things off with this quote because, really, it gets to the absolute heart of everything. For Lacan, our entire lives, our anxieties, our happiness, the whole shebang, it all circles around this one really mysterious thing we call desire. But, and this is the big secret, what we think we desire is almost never the real story. So think of this quote as our doorway into the strange, complicated, but fascinating world of what we really want.
And the guy who's going to be our guide on this wild ride, it's the one and only Slavoj Žižek, specifically through his book, How to Read Lacan. What's so great about Žižek's whole approach is that he doesn't just hit you with a bunch of dry academic theory. Nope. He grabs examples from movies you've seen, from politics, from all the weird stuff in our daily lives, and he uses them to make these huge, complicated Lacanian ideas suddenly feel totally concrete.
Okay, so to make sure we don't get lost, here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about why you should even bother with a thinker this complex. Then, we'll get into two of his biggest ideas, the big other, and this really weird concept of letting others enjoy for you. After that, we hit the main event. What do you truly desire? And finally, we'll wrap it all up by showing you how to see your own world through a Lacanian lens. 5 steps. That's it. Let's get into it.
So, really, why go to all this trouble? Because Lacan isn't just giving us theories about what's going on inside our heads. He's handing us a toolkit for decoding reality itself. He helps us see all the hidden rules, the things we just assume are true, and the invisible structures that shape, well, everything, from our most private worries to how we act out in public. It's kind of like getting a pair of glasses that lets you see the underlying code behind the world.
So how do we start seeing that code? Well, Lacan gives us a huge first concept to work with. And it all starts with a simple question. When you're making a choice, who's really in control? Who is actually pulling the strings? Lacan has a very specific and pretty surprising answer. He calls it the big other.
Now, the first thing you have to know is that the big other isn't a person. It's not God, it's not the government, it's not some shadowy conspiracy. It's the system. It's the whole symbolic network we are all born into. Think of it like the structure of language itself, all the social rules, the whole web of customs that was here long before we were. It's the thing that tells us what's normal, what's rude, what's even possible to think. We're all basically swimming in it, and most of the time we don't even notice the water.
Žižek uses this absolutely perfect example. Apparently, in some super fast-paced soap operas, the actors don't have time to memorize their lines. They just have an earpiece in and they repeat what someone is feeding them. So their mouths are moving, they are speaking the words, but the words, the script, it's coming from somewhere else entirely. For Lacan, that's pretty much us, all the time. We think we're coming up with our own thoughts, but so often we're just reciting a script that was handed to us by the big other.
So you can think of it like the invisible grammar of our social lives, right? It's that automatic little voice in your head that says, oh, one just doesn't do that at a dinner party. It's the unspoken script that makes you say bless you when someone sneezes, or tells you how to act at a funeral without needing to read a manual. It's the shared software that makes society work at all.
Okay, so if the big other is this kind of invisible social software, Lacan points out that it has some really bizarre features programmed into it. And one of the weirdest is something he called interpassivity. It's this wild idea that we actually let the big other do our feeling, and even our enjoying for us. It's like we outsource our own emotions. I mean, really think about this for a second. You're wiped out after a long day. You're just vegging out watching some sitcom. A pretty lame joke happens, and then the canned laughter roars. You don't actually laugh, but you feel this kind of strange sense of relief, right? As if the show did the job of enjoying itself for you. That feeling? That is the absolute essence of interpassivity. It's a perfect example of this bizarre psychological shortcut in action.
So, to put it simply, interpassivity is when we hand off our emotional job to something or someone else. Instead of us actively feeling or enjoying something, we let an object do it on our behalf. We get to stay passive, while the thing, the laugh track, whatever, is active for us. It's one of the strangest but also one of the most common ways the big other manages our lives.
And what's so wild is how old this little psychological trick is. I mean, look here. On the left, you've got a Tibetan prayer wheel. The belief is that the wheel is praying for you, even if you're thinking about what to have for dinner. And on the right, the modern version, a laugh track, enjoying the show so you don't have to. The technology is totally different, but the psychological move is exactly the same.
And once you have the idea in your head, you start to see it absolutely everywhere. Žižek points to things like professional mourners who are paid to cry at funerals for you. Or think about the old days of setting your VCR to tape a show you know you're never, ever going to watch. The machine does the watching for you, and you get the satisfaction without having to put in the effort. In every case, we're finding a way to check a box, to fulfill some kind of duty while we get to stay completely passive.
Okay, so we've got this big other, this social software running in the background, writing our scripts. We even have these weird ways of letting it feel things for us. So where does that leave the most personal, intimate thing we have, our own desire? If the big other has so much control, how much of what we want is actually ours?
This right here, this is probably Lacan's most famous and most mind-bending statement. And it doesn't just mean we want what other people have, like simple jealousy. No. It's way, way deeper than that. What it means is that the very structure of our desire, what we even find desirable in the first place, is handed to us by the other. Our desire is always a response to what we think the world around us expects.
So you see, Lacan just completely flips the script. We're all walking around thinking the big question in our lives is, what do I want? But he argues that, deep down, the unconscious question that's really driving us is, what does the big other? What does society, my parents, the world, want from me? What part do they want me to play? And our desire? It's just our attempt to answer that question.
So let's pull all this together. The big other, inner passivity, the desire of the other. These aren't just some dusty, abstract theories. They're actually a really practical way of seeing that invisible software that runs our social reality. It's a way of waking up and, basically seeing the matrix.
And this is exactly why it matters so much right now. I mean, think about the pressure to create a perfect-looking life on Instagram, or the drive to have a certain kind of career. We are constantly shaping ourselves, shaping our desires, and shaping our lives based on what we believe this unseen big other wants to see. We're always on stage, performing for a symbolic audience that isn't really there.
And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The next time you feel that really powerful pull of desire for a new gadget, a promotion, a totally different lifestyle, just pause for a second and ask yourself the Lacanian question. Is this really my desire, coming from deep inside me? Or am I wanting this because I think it's what the other expects me to want? Who or what is really doing the wanting here? The answer? Well, it just might change everything.